really love Reputation in Oil, Gas and Mining. It's the 4th year for the conference, and I think what really excites me, we've been really lucky to have some fantastic speakers today, sharing their stories, sharing the narrative of the roles that they're playing.
I think it's very good that Communicator magazine sets up this conference. Oil and gas and mining is obviously an industry that rely on trust from communities and authorities, so we need to understand how we can continue to work in a way that builds reputation.
It's a dangerous world, or it can be, in the extractive industries, and a very good example, or a bad example perhaps, is what happened in Aminas, the joint venture gas plant in Algeria.
I think we're in a new era for energy, but that means there's new risks and new uncertainties, and what we experienced with Statoil and Sonatrach in January was a very different and new kind of crisis, and I think it's important to start to reflect on and share the learnings with the rest of the industry.
The opportunity to hear people who've had frontline experiences share their best practices and their insights is always very, very useful. One of the themes that came up in this particular conference is theory is fine, but what you actually do is more important, and it was actually good to hear some real-life examples of what people did, particularly in relation to some of the major crises that have occurred within the sector in recent times.
I have certainly learnt more about the type of crises that people have and how dealing with sort of perhaps local governments and international press, that is definitely transferable to the type of clients that we have at our agency.
I think it's really important to sort of reflect on what you would be like in a crisis and how you would actually operate.
It's not just what you do at the beginning of the incident, it's how you follow up after an incident, particularly, that really will mark out what sort of organisation you are.
In the sort of communications and reputation space, sometimes it can be a lonely job in all of our organisations, and actually to come and interact with peers, learn about what other people are doing, and just sort of play through some of the scenarios we may all face, I think is hugely beneficial.
Here's just a little kind of cross-section of some of the kinds of incident that we've seen in the last few years, which have either started or have amplified effectively in social media.
I think the sessions that provide the higher level of interaction are normally the more engaging and keep the energy levels high.
I really enjoyed the social media simulation piece. So I think that was one of the things I took away from it, is just thinking through some of the decision points you have to go through in a very rapid fashion when you're in a social media crisis scenario. So I particularly enjoyed that.
The last few years have not been sedate. The onset of the possibility of extracting what is now termed unconventional hydrocarbons, such as shale, has brought the industry back into the public spotlight for the first time after many, many years of just getting on with it.
In oil and gas in particular, we face a very specific and difficult challenge because we're in extractive, and some people have very strong views about extractive industries, but actually we employ a lot of people all over the world, and the communications teams that sort of build the reputation for those companies are incredibly important. Sharing ideas and stealing the odd idea as well is not a bad thing, I think.
I think that it's great to get communications people together, people that talk about reputation, people that do reputation day in, day out, get them to come together, share their ideas, share their best practice. I certainly learned a lot today. I was taking lots and lots of notes, so I'll be taking a lot away from it.
I think there's a number of things that we're going to do next year, which we've already started work on actually. We can be looking at how brand and reputation interact. We'll be focusing more on things like public affairs and lobbying, and the way that kind of story interacts, of being able to reach out to regulators. We're going to talk a little bit more about the internal communications. We may actually look at having it as a full day event.
I think it's absolutely essential. It is important that there are opportunities such as this for people to come together and actually share their learnings and their experiences.